Good afternoon. This is Charles Coachman, and this is Bay Area Let's Talk. Hey, as you can see there, we are powered by StreamYard. StreamYard's a platform that we are using to go live. So, I think we're recovering a little bit from the mayhem and craziness that we went through yesterday in Washington, D.C. Sure hope so. Sure hope this is all over and we can get going on with this. Hey, my name is Charles Coachman, and this is Bay Area Let's Talk. If you would like to ask a question or if you'd like to comment, please do so. And we would love to hear your comments, love to read your comments. You can always text us at 408-439-0766 or send us an email at bayarealetstalk@gmail.com, and I'll be glad to answer those. Also, as I said again, we are powered by StreamYard, and we are using a couple of different systems to work with here. And that's one of the systems that we're using, and one of the systems that has helped us to get up and going is the Grow Live Academy, growliveacademy.com. And that is a Ken Walls system. Ken Walls is an excellent trainer on how to get up and running a live stream. And then again, as we've said a couple of times already, StreamYard.com. And then another system that we use to keep in touch with our clients is Hippo Video. Hippo Video. So if you need some help, just check out with me and we'd be glad to give you a hand with that. And again, our email and text and call number is right there. Hey, we are, again, we were talking about yesterday's crazy end to the rally in Washington, D.C. for President Trump. It ended rather abruptly and in a way that was not satisfying to anyone. And we had 4 people dead. So that was a very, very difficult thing for everyone involved. And we are sorry to hear that this has happened. Hey, Scott. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate it, man. So, want to take a look at some of the items that are going on today in Bay Area news. And one of them is that with the certification of Joe Biden and his pending inauguration on January 20th, the Bay Area's own Kamala Harris will be vice president. She will be vice president and then president of the Senate. Some of the people were joking today that she'll be spending a lot more time in the Senate this year than she did last year. Now, is that a good thing or not? But anyway, hey, congratulations to them both. Got through that. As I have said, I'm a conservative fellow living here in the Bay Area, and this is not quite the bastion of conservatism here. And I think a lot of us know it. And if you've lived here in the Bay Area as long as I have, you know that. Yeah, I'm right there with you, Scott. But what we do know is this election has now been certified, and Joe Biden will be president. And who knows if what was following them into the election will take place after the certification. I'm referring to Joe Biden's son and the dealings that they were working with China and many other countries around the world. will those things be followed up on, or is that the end? Now, my time here isn't to be bashing on Joe Biden or to be bashing on anyone else, except there's many calls right now to have the police chief for the Capitol Police to be removed. Because what happened yesterday should not have happened. We had a Capitol policeman kill a young woman, a veteran, in the Capitol building yesterday. And it wasn't, they're going to have to, I will say, in any type of shooting, you have to do your investigation and figure out exactly what was going on. But from the video I've seen, it looks pretty bad. And it doesn't look like the shooting was necessary. But I'm not in that policeman's mind. I can't be. And I am going to be fair and honest with no matter what happens, who was killed. Now, it may not be the same if it was my own son that got killed, or my daughter, or my wife. But I am a law and order person. Always have been, always will be. Scott, you're right. It was terrible. It was a completely bad scene. So I'm hoping they're able to get that cleaned up, and I hope they make a swift decision on what they're going to do with that Capitol Hill police chief, because they should have been more prepared than they were. They knew that there was going to be 250,000 up to a couple million people there. Now, obviously, the majority of the people had nothing to do with the rushing of the Capitol. Most of them were all in the background. But our Capitol, to have people climbing over the walls, breaking windows to get in, was terrible. It was a horrific sight, something I hope that I never see again in my lifetime. Terrible. So, again, I wanted to start out by talking about Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris, however you pronounce her name, and I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but I'm just not sure how to say it. I didn't find her record here in California to be anything to write home about. A lot of the things that they're fighting for, and a lot of the things that BLM are fighting for, are things that she pushed when she was the Attorney General here in California. Now we're going to see how she's going to stand up to her record and how she's going to work out as vice president. And Joe Biden, with 47 years, almost 50 years on Capitol Hill, what is he going to do now as president? We're going to see. We're going to find out. Have no idea. I do have some thoughts on his seemingly cognitive disabilities, cognitive problems. I'm afraid he's a little shaky there, and maybe that's why they've got a young person to back him up. We're going to see how that shakes out. Hey, there's some good things going on around here. Good things going on in San Jose, in the downtown, where, all the museums, and we've got, a couple of very nice museums and places where you can see art at. Well, they have got buildings now with the art that's on them. And there's a lot of art that's going up on doors around the downtown. So entryways into places. And some of it is just fantastic art. Some of it done by high school kids, and some from San Jose State and from other places and local artists. And some of that art has been great. Now, of course, not sure how they're going to handle the vandalism. They've already had to go through and clean up a couple of the places. So let's see. Unfortunately, potential tagging is one of the challenges of having a street gallery available to anyone at any time. Surely enough, some of the pieces have already been scrawled on. Fortunately, the vinyl coating that the digitized art is printed on is usually able to be cleaned. So that's one of the great things. That is awesome. That is awesome. And that is here in downtown San Jose. And I was reading from an article from Sal Pisano. And then here we've got J.R. Brooks. He is writing about some of the breweries and what's happened with the breweries in 2020. Obviously, the breweries need business, and we have cut them off. We've 86'd all their customers. They can't do a darn thing. So a lot of them are going to be closed down. Their margins are not that great where they can afford to be closed down for 9 months out of the year. Can't do it and survive. So what does J.R. Brooks have to say? That's J.Y.R. Brooks. Last year was arguably one of the worst years any of us had to endure, and that goes double for breweries, brew pubs, bars, restaurants, and anyone who sells beer. Beer has been appropriately called a social lubricant, and what we all lost on 2020 was the in-person social aspect of our lives. We couldn't go out and share a beer with somebody. And that is hard. That is terrible for these breweries. I was in the liquor business for nearly 20 years. If the bar business had closed down, that was going to take away an awful lot of good business. But luckily, mine was one of those that you could purchase from the store. And you could walk out with your liquor from there. But still, it's not the same thing. We're talking about breweries, the microbrews. So they're seeing what companies are going to be able to hold on, and they know that there are a bunch that aren't going to make it. Looking at a survey here, it says in November 2020 survey of its members, the Craft Beer Industries Brewers Association found that 22%, more than 1 in 5 craft brewers, don't think they'll still be operating by the end of 2021. These people have invested everything. Most of them are small businesses. They have invested everything, every penny they have, most of them, every penny they have, and sweat labor to get that stuff done. Most of them are working hard by themselves and then hiring people as they can afford to, and then moving on. They've got to generate the business first. I've watched a couple of these breweries leave because they just couldn't make it. San Jose had a brewery here that was really excellent. It was here for years and years and years. And then the bottom fell out. So they say that there is going to be a rise of low and no alcohol beers. Thinking there may be a few more IPAs. A couple of craft malts might be coming on to the local breweries. And we're seeing a lot of the microbreweries doing more hard seltzer. So that's one of the things the brewery is going to have to take a look at and try and make it this year. And that's a tough business. And boy, do I enjoy a nice craft beer. Just enjoy the taste. And it's difficult for these companies, and I really feel for them. It is a difficult time. Next thing I'm going to talk about, I just hope Joe's health is good for 4 years. Yikes. Many of them will not survive. Absolutely, they won't survive this year. Now, one of the things that we're taking a look at now is the radical shift in Bay Area housing, jobs, and transit. For the last 20 years, there has been a push for transit throughout the Bay Area. We've had BART here since I was a kid, since I was in high school. And somehow San Jose got away with coming in at the last minute and getting transit into San Jose, getting BART into San Jose, possibly because they're the largest city in the Bay Area at over 1 million people. But they didn't put their money in when BART was first being designed. It stopped in Fremont. It stopped 25 miles away from us. And for all those years, San Jose didn't pay into BART. And then all of a sudden, they started talking, and we needed to circle the bay. And so they're going to do it using BART into San Jose, connecting with the San Jose VTA, the Valley Transit Authority here, and then also using Caltrain into San Francisco. So BART can make the full loop, although it won't totally be BART. It'll be use of all the transit systems. So they've built up housing around these places and around BART. And Google is getting ready to build a huge campus in downtown San Jose next to the Shark Tank. What's going to happen with that? What are we going to see with that? Well, here's what Twitter had to say early in the pandemic. Twitter announced that its employees could permanently operate from home. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg foresees half his workforce doing the same. And Google is exploring a permanent hybrid plan that would allow workers to split their time between home and office. Hey, pandemic, everything changed. We have spent billions and billions of dollars of our tax dollars to build this transit system, and then all of a sudden in 1 year it disappears. Because what we know is, who really wants to ride transit? Nobody. And especially when there's a pandemic going on. BART is seeing about a 90% drop in ridership. 90% drop. How can they afford to do that? How can they afford to do that? I don't have any idea. So we are seeing the prices in housing change. We know that condominiums, especially around those systems, the prices have been dropping on them. So we know that that is hurting. We know that BART is hurting. So they are going to have to take a look at what they had been showing as their needs for the last 20 years, and their outlook and forecast for the next 20 years. They're going to have to change that. And we're talking about probably billions of dollars. And they've got to make the right decisions, because with companies now allowing people to work from home, people would rather drive their cars if they do have to go to work. And right now, this is the first time since the early 90s that the traffic has been okay in this area. And we may be looking at a workforce that completely changes. People working from home for the most part. So it's going to be a different story here in the Bay Area. And we are, for the first time, I reported this a couple days ago, for the first time in decades, let's try a century and a half, California is no longer growing. We are facing negative growth. Now the Bay Area, because this is where the high-tech jobs are, for the most part, we've got a lot of people coming up and wanting to live here, especially in the San Jose, Sunnyvale, Cupertino, Mountain View, Los Altos, Hillsboro, those areas, everything around the peninsula. There are a lot of people that want to live here. Got a couple of the best high schools and a couple of the best school districts in the nation here. So people want to get in there, but we know that the prices drive people away. Prices are driving people away, and we have to understand that. So we have got a lot of balls in the air trying to figure out what we're going to do. How are we going to be managing housing? How are we going to be managing transit? And what does our workforce look like in the future? Hey, one of the things I wanted to talk about also was earthquake insurance. And we have earthquake insurance. We live in an area that we know an earthquake's coming sooner or later. It's been 30 years, over 30 years now since Loma Prieta. And we know that they say that every 30 years we can expect an earthquake, a major earthquake. And that's something in the realm of 5.5 to 8. Loma Prieta was a 7.1. I think 263 people died. We lost a number of homes, but it was not centered in a high population area. Now, it ran along the fault line. We saw all the homes that got hurt in the marina. We saw what happened there. But it wasn't like it was centered in San Jose. It wasn't like it was centered in San Francisco, which has so much of the outlying area built on reclaimed land, built on sludge. Heck, we've got that big building, the condominium building in San Jose. I think it's called, is it the Millennium Tower? That is swaying. People paid $1 million a home inside this building. They've got windows cracking. They've got the sidewalk pulling away from it. If an earthquake hits there, there's going to be some problems. So one of the things that I wanted to address today is that, hey, you know what? I had an insurance fellow that we interviewed a couple of weeks ago, David Castillo of Farmers Insurance, and he was talking about some of the benefits. You know, earthquake insurance used to be really, really expensive. And now we can probably insure a home for about $2,000 a year. Now, it depends on the price of your home, how much insurance you need to cover, what your insurance company is going to be able to do for you, what it will cover. We know that our price per square foot in the Bay Area is anywhere from $300 a square foot up to well over $1,000 per square foot. So what is your insurance going to cover? But if you have a $500,000 loss because your house gets knocked down, wouldn't you much rather be paying $2,000 a year to insure it? Now, certainly the deductible is high, anywhere from 10 to 15%. I don't believe it goes as high as 20%, but that will definitely depend on your plan. And I believe there's some measures within the state that limit how much they can charge for that. And one of the good things about this earthquake insurance, and I'm going to tell everyone that I talk to from now on, any buyers that I work with, if you are concerned about earthquakes, and especially a home that was built prior to 1970 and certainly, well, prior to 1980 and certainly prior to 1970, you may need earthquake retrofits. And so that's one of the things you need to consider. And then deal with earthquake insurance. Be smart about it. See what you might want to do. Because nobody wants to be caught with that happening. And for a couple $1,000s a year, when you go ahead, the deductible on it is high. Again, 10 to 15%, possibly up to 20. So let's say that you have $1 million home and it's 10%. That's $100,000 out of pocket. Well, it comes from the insurance company. They will knock off $100,000 on what they're going to cover. And then you decide what you want to do with the rest. The land didn't go away. The house did. So the land is going to stay there unless you are on top of the fault. So I'm going to tell everyone that I deal with to make sure that you look in to earthquake insurance. If you're in the Bay Area, if you are anywhere in California, take a look into it. We have insurance for a reason. Not that we're looking to use it every year, but we want the protection. We want the protection for that. Hey, I'm just seeing today, came across that Katie Sowers, if you're not familiar with the name, she was one of the female coaches that have come into the NFL. She joined the 49ers 4 years ago. And today it was announced that she has coached her last game this last weekend. I'll just read a quick note on what she had to say, and I think she put it out on Instagram. Dear faithful, we've been through so much together over the last 4 years, and words will never express how much your love and acceptance meant to me. I will forever cherish the memories and hearing your stories throughout the years. Together, we made a difference in this world. You were there every step of the way, from the first day on the job at Levi's to the Super Bowl, and even when my dad passed away. You all supported me through it all. Change is inevitable in this life. Enjoy every minute and cherish memories, because time will pass you by faster than you know. One last walk out of the tunnel. I am forever grateful for my time in SF. Until we meet again, forever faithful. So this was a big deal when she came into town. We had a football team that was allowing that, allowing a female coach. You know, I must say, having played football when I was a youngster, many moons ago, never thought I'd see a female coach. I never thought I'd see a female coach in baseball. Now, we just saw a lady that coached, became the head coach in a professional basketball game. So we don't know what's going to happen. And What's going to lie ahead in the future? Is there going to be more of it? Let's see. I've got one more story that I wanted to do, and then I wanted to cover some music news. But actually, there are two more stories, and I don't know if I'm going to get to one of them. So, community group sues the city of Richmond for approving development on a toxic site. When are we going to learn? When are we going to learn? We've had toxic sites all over the Bay Area. From the Silicon Valley to San Francisco around Candlestick Park. And now in Richmond. This is a story from Annie Sayaka. I think that's how you pronounce her name. And if I mispronounced it, I am very sorry. But we have learned in the past. So here we go. Richmond is going to be sued. They say that they're doing everything by the state law, but you have to go deeper. This is a big deal. You're going in and scraping up dust that has been buried for years and years in a windy area. You can't cover it. You can't make it disappear. Now, there may be certain things that you can do to avoid it, but everything's got to be tested and retested. The last time we had a big deal over in San Francisco, they found out there had been a bunch of false reports filed. Why were they filed? Because we needed to get the project done on time. Well, is that what's going to happen in Richmond? Don't know. You hope not. You pray not. Just don't have any idea. So we've got to be smart about that. Boy, Richmond, do whatever you can to avoid this. To avoid this. Take whatever steps you can to avoid this. So, one of the last things that I like to cover, and one of my favorite subjects in all that I'm doing right now, is music. In music. January 7th, 1938. Paul Revere and the Raiders was born in Boise, Idaho. This, now, I did not know. 1944 on this date, British Novelty Act, Mike McGeer, Lily and the Pink, or Lily the Pink, a British Novelty Act. Mike McGeer was Paul McCartney's brother. Didn't know anything about his family. The guy is one of the most famous people in the world. Don't have any idea about his family. But here he had a brother that was also in the music business. Who knew that? 1948 on this day, Kenny Loggins was born up in Everett, Washington. Chubby Checker in 1963 was sued on this date by Gary U.S. Bonds for stealing one of his songs. 1955 on this date, Rock Around the Clock by Bill Haley hit the charts in the UK. (1970) in this date, Led Zeppelin kicked off an 8-date tour in Birmingham. 1968 in this date, San Francisco's first FM station, Underground, started playing some of that wild acid music, acid rock. Oh, let's see. Andy Gibb in 1977 had his first hit. In 1978, on this date, Linda Ronstadt had the #1 album, Simple Dreams. In 1980, on this date, Larry Williams, the singer of Boney Maroney, was found dead of a gunshot. 1980. 1994. Nirvana played its last date at Seattle Arena, the band's last U.S. show. 2001. On this date, Rod Stewart tells a German newspaper, "My partying days are over." Good for you, Rod. 2003, on this date, Ozzy Osbourne renews his vows with his wife, Sharon. (2004). Here we are, a lot closer. 2004, only 17 years ago now. Apple sells more than 2 million iPods. Who the heck has an iPod now? Only 17 years ago. 2 million iPods. That little iPod is now in your phone. It's crazy how things have changed. Drummer John Guerin in 2004 died of pneumonia, age 64. He had played with some of the greats: Joni Mitchell, Frank Zappa, Linda Ronstadt, Graham Parsons, and Todd Rundgren. 2006, Pink, Let's Get This Party Started, marries motocross racer and surreal life star Carrie Hart in Costa Rica. 2006, on this date, Gary Glitter was formally charged with committing obscene acts. And then just 1 year ago today, for any of us that are rock and roll fans, and anybody that got to see Neil Peart play, got to witness his drum set. 1 year ago, he died of brain cancer. So I hate to leave it on a sad note, but that was a tough one. Hey, Larry, good to see you. And hey, Scott, thank you guys for coming in and taking a listen. So that is it for today on Bay Area Let's Talk. So if you'd like to share this out, we'd sure appreciate it. We are on 2 different Facebook channels, and we are on YouTube. So we are just getting started, and we look forward to having a bunch of fun on Bay Area Let's Talk. So have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Signing off. Have a great night. Bye.